Part 13 is WordPress default settings. Going to open up my web browser and go to our domain name. And by default, you should see the 2017 or the current year's default WordPress theme with the site title that you created when you set up the WordPress account, or when you installed WordPress, excuse me, and the words "just another WordPress site" as the WordPress tagline. Of course, you can scroll down. It's got this neat parallax feature and a default post titled "Hello World," which you can click on to see more about the post. You can edit the post. It shows the post date, which will be the date that you actually set the website up. Your sidebar is going to show recent posts, Hello World, recent comments, a random comment on Hello World by the default WordPress setup, archives January 2017, categories uncategorized, meta. We'll have your site admin, logout RSS, and WordPress.org. Site admin is where you go to log in, which is your website domain name /wp-admin. You can alternatively type that into the address bar. And let me note that you've got if you're logged in by default, which I'm going to go ahead and log out. Let me go back to the website. When you're logged out, you won't see that bar at all. When you're logged in, you will see that bar. So you can click on log in, which it'll show as site admin if you're already logged in when you set the account up. Alternatively, you can go to yourdomainname.com /wp-admin or wp-login. Either or will work. Of course, your username and then your password. So assuming that you're already logged in, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check out our settings. So we're going to go down to settings and writing. Actually, no, reading. The first link you want to click on, settings, reading. So by default, you've got your latest posts, or you can choose to have a static page. We're just going to leave this alone. The first thing we're going to change is our summary. So we're going to change this from full text to summary. We're going to save the changes. I'm going to go down to general settings now. And I'm going to change our WordPress address and our site address from HTTP to HTTPS. Now, before you actually do this, if you are following along in the course for this series of videos and you set up the SSL certificate when you purchase your domain name and hosting, then you should be able to change this to HTTPS with no problem. So go ahead and add the S after the P, assuming you set up the SSL certificate on your domain name, and scroll all the way down and click Save Changes. You may be forced logged out, and you'll have to log back in. But what you'll see in the very top of your address bar is a green lock icon, and in green the letters HTTPS. Now you can log in and your whole website will be secure through your SSL certificate. That just means that your website now will send any private data, any sensitive data that's submitted through a form or payment processor on your website through an encrypted server, which means no one can intercept the information to steal credit card information, social security numbers, email addresses, etc. Now, in general settings as well, you've got the option to change your site title and tagline. So I'm going to adjust my title and tagline a bit to shorten my title and add a couple of keywords in the tagline. If you know what your tagline is, you can go ahead and change this. For me, I like to put, if this is a physical brick and mortar or a service that's provided in a specific city or state, I like to add that city and state in the tagline, or at least the state. So of course I want to go down and click Save Changes. Once you've updated your title and tagline, under writing, you can generally leave these defaults as, or these settings as default. We've already adjusted some of our reading to change our article to show a summary instead of a full text. This just means if you have blog posts embedded on the home page, it won't show the full content, the body of content of the blog post. It'll actually just show a short excerpt before there's a ... and a read more call to action. You want to go to the discussions tab or discussion. I like to also enable users must be registered and logged in to comment, and save. So of course you can look through these settings and adjust them as you wish, but keep in mind, if you do not have this option checked, any bots and spammers and trolls can just come in and comment on any post on your website if you have comments enabled, which I'll show you how to disable them here in a second. For media, we should have some default media sizes, but you don't necessarily need to change these. If you upload any themes or any plugins in the future that integrate with the media that's uploaded to the site, these might be changed for you according to the plugins you have enabled. And last, under the settings options, we want to go to permalinks and change the permalinks structure from day and name to post name. This is going to give you a pretty URL, which will be beneficial. It'll be useful for search engine optimization purposes. Alternatively, if you are running a website that deals with specific news articles that are categorized by dates, such as 2007, January 2nd, you may want to keep the structure, the permalink structure, set to day and name or month and name. Okay, so otherwise you want to have your custom structure set to a post name, and then you want to save those changes. So when you have a post name, if you create a new page on your website called About Me on January 2nd, 2017, if you leave it as day and name, when people come to visit your site, or if they want to come directly to the About Me page, they'd have to type https://www.yourwebsite.com/2017/01/02/about-me. So to eliminate that pain, you'd change this to post name, and they would only have to type in your domain name /about-me. And then you want to click Save Changes. Now I'm going to go over to users. By default, there's only one user, myself. I have a WordPress.com account on top of having self-hosted WordPress websites. The email address I use to set up my account in my self-hosted WordPress websites is the same email I use in my my WordPress.com account. So by default, they will bring my picture that I uploaded to that account, and they will upload my picture into my WordPress for me. So I'm going to click on Edit. I always like to disable the toolbar when viewing sites. So if you go to, let's say this is the blog post, Hello World, there's this toolbar up here, and your users aren't going to see this toolbar because they're not logged into your WordPress. So I generally like to see what my users see. So I want to disable this this user bar up here, so that I can see the website in a different tab without the bar. So I'm going to disable Show Toolbar when viewing site. Of course, you can update any of your own personal information This picture came from my Gravatar, which means since I have a WordPress.com account, the picture was uploaded automatically. And you can change your passwords here. I'm going to just click on update profile. And if I refresh this blog, this toolbar will disappear. This is what my visitors will see when they come to my website. You can also go and add new users. We're not going to do that right now, but you want to use their emails, of course, when you add their user accounts. Another thing I forgot to mention in the settings and the general settings, you would want to change the email address of the general settings to the main email address that's going to be used for this website. So we registered a custom email, several custom emails for this website, one of which was info@thirdcoastdetailing.com. So I'm going to change this email for this website to info@thirdcoast.com. And any new user registrations, any plugin updates, any notifications regarding the website will be regarding the WordPress installation, or the updates of the WordPress will be sent to that email. Okay, so change that email address. Of course, your user email address will remain the same. Under plugins, you have two default plugins. Akismet, I think that's how you pronounce that, and Hello Dolly. I don't ever use either of these two, so I don't mind actually deleting them. You can keep them and use them if you want. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete those plugins because I don't use them. And under appearance, you have the option to look at your themes. By default, WordPress gives you the current year's theme and 2 of the prior year themes. I'm going to click on theme details. I can delete these additional themes because I don't need those installed. Theme details, delete. Obviously you can't delete your active theme. So now I just have one theme installed. I'm going to go over to customize. Now you can customize the website while looking at your home page to see, what information is being changed. So the first thing I want to do is upload or update my site identity by disabling the option to display site title and tagline. Obviously that's a personal preference, but generally I like to disable that option. Those options might change in the future if you upload a theme, but I'm just going to go ahead and save and publish this and then click on this back arrow. You can update colors here, header media. You generally will not be updating any of this information if you plan on installing your own themes. So don't worry too much about these themes or these theme options right now, because we will be there will be different theme options based on the theme you decide to install. Obviously, WordPress 2017 is not the theme that you're going to be using, but you need to update a few of these options as far as like site identity with site title, tagline, before you go and install your new theme. Now I'm going to go and click on widgets. In the home page, so it looks like our home page was updated a little bit since we've updated our permalinks. I'm not sure. Sometimes this information is not up here, but here's our home page. We've got an about, a blog, a contact, and some random information here. Powered by WordPress. We're not really going to edit any of this information right now, but I'm going to go over to appearance and widgets. So if you're logged out, let's see what this looks like if I'm logged out. I'm going to open an incognito window. I'm going to grab our domain name, copy it, and view this in our incognito window. the home page that comes up is the same home page. So previously we did have a side menu over here. I'm not sure what changed in the process of us updating the permalinks, etc. But now it looks a little bit different. So in appearance, we've got this sidebar, and we've got this text, find us, search, this about this site. So if I go back to our home page, we've got find us, search about this site. This is probably the sidebar that's being edited unless there is a footer. So footer 1 is find us. Footer 2 is about this site and search. So if you wanted to make changes to any of this, make sure you check out your footers and sidebars. So this is where those default the default content is sitting inside of your widgets. If you plan on installing a theme, this is not something that you necessarily have to edit or adjust. You can just leave it as is, even though it has nothing to do with your business. The theme will actually update this stuff for you and give you more options or different options that might have nothing to do with this. If you go over to menus, I'd like to note that in every page there is a tab in the top right hand corner that says screen options. If you click on screen options, it'll bring up some options for this particular set of WordPress options. So since I'm on the menus section of WordPress, these are options that I can change. Choosing different screen options gives me more of editing capabilities for, for instance, my menu. So right here you see I can add a URL, I can add a navigation label. So yelp.com navigation label is Yelp, which is, let's see, where's this menu? Maybe this is the footer, Yelp. And then we've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email. So Yelp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email. This is our social links menu. So up here it shows select the menu to edit. We can change this to top menu and click select. Now I've got a navigation label, and this is just a page. We can go in here and add custom links if we want to. Add a label. I'm going to change this to VGG. And there's our custom link with our URL and our navigation label. I'll save the changes, refresh our page, and here we should have this new navigation label with a random URL. But the other options that are in the screen options section allow us to add a link target and a title attribute. These two are really important. So you might want to go in here and enable link target and title attribute. When you do that, you'll have more options under your menu structure. So we've got a URL, a navigation label, title attribute, and link target, which means you can choose to have this link open in a different tab. So I'm going to go and add a let's see, google.com. Change my navigation label to Google. Title attribute, visit or search for anything on Google, and we'll have this open in a new tab. So the title attribute is really good for practicing SEO, even though the actual navigation label just says Google. You can have different keywords in the title attribute, such as, follow me on Twitter. You can say follow Corey Owens on Twitter, or follow insert company name here on Twitter. And then when you save this menu, let's refresh our page. We've got Google. If you hover over it, the title attribute will actually show up in this small light box of text that says search for anything on Google. So this is good SEO practice for accessibility for people who just want to know where they're going before they click on an outbound link. Okay, so that's good SEO practice. As you see, contact, blog, about, home, these actually don't have an attribute by default, so you may want to go and add those just to practice better SEO. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that custom link. So if you have different pages, you have a pages drop down where you can add different pages to your menu. You can search for different pages if you don't see it in the list. You can view all pages. You can add different posts to your menu. So by default, we have Hello World as a post, custom links, and different categories. So categories of your post. These structures will change if you add plugins and themes that manipulate or give you more options in these sections. But I'm going to save this menu for now. By default, you're never really going to edit your header because the custom theme you install will actually give you different editing capabilities of the header directly on your pages. And your editor is where you actually go to edit your theme files. So as by theme files, I mean your PHP, your theme footer, your theme static front page, theme functions. Generally, this is more advanced editing. You're probably not likely to use this section unless you have some advanced changes you want to make for your theme layout. If you go over to comments, by default, you've got a default comment that is approved and visible on your website. So if I click on blog, for example, I'll go to our Hello World post and there's a comment here. I'm actually going to trash this comment, go over to my trash and delete the comment permanently. I'll go over to pages and we've got a sample page. I'm actually going to click on this title box right here and select all of our pages. I'm going to deselect our post page and our home page, and I'm going to change our bulk actions to edit and click on apply. And then I'm going to change the status of these pages to draft, and I'm going to click on update. So now the only pages that are visible are our blog page and our home page. Let me just refresh our home page. Actually, just go home. Now we can't access the blog or let's see, the about page. It looks like we still have an about, blog, contact. So it looks like these pages are just empty. And let me open these in an incognito window, because I would assume it will return a 404 error. Contact. Oops, that page can't be found. So basically this is a 404 because I set the page to draft mode. So now it can't be seen by the public. The same thing with about. Our blog page is still here. Our home page is still here. So because we don't have any content on these pages, we're going to set those to draft for the time being. Of course, you can always preview them. You can edit it in a new tab and preview it in a new tab to see what your edits look like before you go back and publish them to the public. But we only have 2 pages as public for now. Again, I view these pages and I can see them in my browser because my cookies, my cache has basically saved a temporary version of this website, of this page, including the pictures, the text, all the content is saved on my local computer so that it can bring it back up while I'm in this browser session. So when you open an incognito window and view this page, it won't show up because the incognito window does not track your local temporary files that are stored to give you access to this page quicker. So when someone that's publicly viewing this page goes to click on the link, they will see an error where you might actually see the page even though it's unpublished in the control panel. So now we're going to go over to posts. We don't really need to do anything with media, and we're going to quick edit this post and change the status to draft and update it. Now we have 0 posts on our blog page. So we got a home page, a blog page with nothing found. Over in our widget, we a minute ago we had different widget items such as like archives and recent posts, comments. That's not showing up here now, but if it were here, you would not see any archives, you wouldn't see any categories, you wouldn't see any comments, because we've either deleted or set them to draft. I'm going to go back to my dashboard now. And again, with the screen options, you have different options. You can hide different sections that you don't necessarily need or want to see. When you install new themes or new plugins, you might have different sections show up here, such as WooCommerce. It'll show your recent purchases or recent items sold. You can drag and reorganize these, and you basically choose what you want. I don't really use Quick Draft. I don't really look at WordPress news. I don't really check out at a glance. Activity I might keep, and the welcome to WordPress. This big bar right here that gives you quick access to some of these settings, such as edit your front page, add additional pages, add a blog post, view your site. You can view your site here, manage widgets or menus, turn comments on or off, learn more about getting started. So these settings, I don't really look at those. So I like to hide basically everything except for activity. That's just my personal preferences. Another thing with plugins, you might want to go over to your plugins page, and if you do want to keep those plugins, just make sure they're all up to date. When you go over to your pages, you've got some more screen option settings when you actually go into your individual pages. So let's click on the home page, edit it. So by default, you have your body content. Okay, you can add media to this body. This is where you actually edit what your body content looks like. This is where you edit your page title. If it's not the home page, you can actually edit the permalink structure, which I'll show you that in a second. You can change this to text mode to actually add HTML code directly here. So if you want to embed an iframe or embed some type of HTML code, go over to the text mode to add the HTML code. Otherwise, you can just visually edit your text, bold, italicized. If I go to text mode, it'll show the style, text align left, strong, which is bold, and EM, which is italicized. Bold, italicized. Of course, I can hit enter one time to break the line, and I can add a title. So, and I can set this to header. We're going to use header 4. And if I hold shift and click enter, then I'm still editing on our header line. So anything I type will also be a header. If I hit shift and enter, we're going to break the line directly under our paragraph to continue the paragraph. Otherwise, if I simply hit enter, this is going to break a whole new body of text, which will revert to its default text styling. So I can change this to header 1 and then hit enter, and I've got a new style. I can change this to heading 6, and I can hit enter, text, change this to pre-formatted. So everything is going to be on its own line if you simply hit enter. Enter, enter. Otherwise, if you hit shift enter and type, shift enter, type, shift enter, type, okay, enter, type, enter type. I'm just going to click on preview changes. So these are all of our different text styles. We've got this header, paragraph text, header, paragraph text, header, paragraph text, pre-formatted text, paragraph text. Now I'm going to delete everything except for our default text that we had in here. Change this back to paragraph. Okay, so on the right hand side, you've got your option to preview changes before you publish. Sometimes you might need to open an incognito window and copy the preview changes link to see, or close the previous preview changes window that opened to see your updates. Because if you press preview changes and you don't see the changes you've made, that's because there was a cached version of the page still showing. So now I hit preview changes and it only shows me my line of text. But if you still saw those other titles, then you need to open a new preview page because the cached version will be sitting on your computer. You can change the status to draft if you don't want to publish this as public, but you do want to save to update your changes. You can change the visibility of the page to password protected or private. And you can change the date that the article or page is published. So this works the same way with posts. So for this, we're editing a page right now. Of course, you don't really need to worry about page attributes. You can upload a featured image. In some themes, the featured image will actually show up on the page. In other themes, the featured image won't show up on the page, but will show up if someone shares a URL to that page in the description where they shared it, such as on Facebook. And then here you'll click update to update your changes. If I open up screen options, you'll see the option for discussions. You will want to enable this discussion box. So these are boxes that you can enable or disable. Discussions, you can disable revisions if you usually don't go back and look at your different revisions. So let me show you where that is. I just updated 1 minute ago, 19 minutes ago. If I need to go back to an update I did a week ago to see the changes that were made, then I would need to go to the revisions box. Of course, you can collapse each box, but I'm going to disable revisions and enable discussions. You can enable author and slug and comments. Author is obviously if you have more than one people posting pages and blogs. You can enable this option to choose who the page was published by if it wasn't you, but you're logged into your account and it's published by someone else. You can enable this to change the page author. And you can do the same with posts. And then you've got page attributes, featured image, layout, 1 column, 2 column. 2 column is usually most optimal, and additional settings, full height editor and distraction free functionality, which means, let's collapse this. I can change this to distraction free mode. Okay, so I can collapse the discussion. In some themes, by default, comments are allowed. So you might want to go in here and uncheck allow comments. If you enable the discussions box, but you don't, and you see that by default it's checked, you want to go and disable this. Otherwise, people can publicly comment on your pages. So if I allow comments on my pages and not necessarily just particular posts, I'm going to go to my home page and scroll to the very bottom, and I should be able to see the option for someone to post a comment if this is a regular page, but this isn't. So pages that aren't the home page, such as, let's go ahead and enable contact to be public. I'm going to go and allow comments. It's got a featured image here. let's see, discussion. You can change the pretty permalink URL. So it's a pretty permalink URL because when you change the title, or when you create a page with a title or a post with a title, the title will automatically go over to your URL. So thirdcoastdetailing.com/page title contact. Otherwise, you can change this to what you want it to be, such as contact us. And of course, you can change the page name or leave the page name as is and hit OK, and then publish it or update it. So let me go over to the contact page, and at the very bottom you've got the option now to leave a reply to this page. So if you're logged out, maybe you can post a comment depending on your settings. If you're logged in, you can post a comment. Most people don't want comments under pages, but under posts instead. So this is where you would disable the option to allow comments. So now I can update this, and then I can go back to my screen options and remove the discussions section. So to leave this as minimalist as possible. So right now I only need to edit our page body content, our page title, our page URL, and publishing settings, and our featured image. Okay, page is updated. Awesome, we're good to go. As for media, here you can access your different media, add titles, captions. You just don't necessarily need to add captions, but you definitely want to do a title and alt text. We'll discuss that in a video in the future. You don't necessarily need a description. Okay, and here's where you can grab the URL for the images. In some cases, you can view the attachment page, which is a custom link that most people don't have access to. You can edit more details about the image, or edit the image as far as cropping. But this is where you would access your media as far as uploading MP3s, uploading videos, which I don't necessarily recommend. I recommend embedding videos from YouTube or Vimeo. But you can add GIFs and, you know, different pictures in here, or different media content, text documents to be downloaded, or you can bulk select and delete multiple images. You can arrange your images by or your media by file type or dates, so that you can get access. If you upload thousands of images or hundreds of images, you can search by date if you want to find an image that's on your website. Other than that, everything else is pretty much straightforward. I'll go more into depth on these different sections in the next videos as related to installing themes and actually working on the visuals, the visual creative design of your website.